All I can say is that the fake news just doesn't get it, do they? They don't.
The fake news has said regarding the Buffalo shooting and the alleged shooter, you can't talk about his mental health. No, you can only talk about white supremacy. All right? That's all you can talk about. And also the conservative media and politicians that encouraged him to do this. Now, of course, it's all nonsense, that aspect of the story. And mental health, I think it is obviously relevant. Here's how relevant it is. Take a look at this individual. When he was going to high school not too long ago, wearing a full hazmat suit in high school, he had problems. And the White House out loud said, we can't talk about that because that would somehow stigmatize people. They want to drive a false, horrible narrative that somehow half the country is okay with white supremacy. That is ludicrous. Ludicrous and offensive. So, the Digital Governance Board that's going to monitor and tell us what is real information and not real information is, fortunately, well, they put a pause on it, but we got to keep an eye on these folks because Mayorkas, and this was his idea, a digital governance board, and they would be in charge of labeling misinformation and disinformation. They should stay the hell out of it. And fortunately, this individual will no longer be working for the government. Nina Jankowicz resigns after facing scrutiny. Well, the scrutiny was warranted, and she doesn't receive scrutiny very well. Take a look.
It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. When Rudy Giuliani shared bad intel from Ukraine, or when TikTok influencers say COVID can cause pain, they're laundering disinfo, and we really should take note and not support their lies with our wallet, voice, or vote. Oh, information laundering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origin seems slightly less atrocious.
Ooh, is right. All right, we've seen these Mary Poppins videos. I really don't care. What I do care about, though, is when the person who's supposed to be judging what's disinformation and misinformation engages in misinformation and disinformation herself. She said the laptop was Russian phony intel. She said all kinds of things that we know are wrong.
There's never been any indication that Hunter Biden was involved in anything untoward. And this has, spun into a whole other host of nonsense, basically, that Joe Biden withheld aid to Ukraine.
There's already this idea, this allegation that there is anti-conservative bias on the platforms, even though there has been study after study proving, in fact, that often it's liberal voices that are being silenced, particularly minority voices on social media.
Did you hear the part where she said, Hunter did nothing untoward? Hunter Biden did nothing untoward? What about the crack and the cocaine and the strippers and the prostitutes? That's untoward. She can't tell the truth when it comes to politics, and she can't and should not be judging the rest of us. And now that she's been fired, well, the liberal media, they feel bad for her, and they're coming to her defense. Now, this person's a real piece of work. Her name is Taylor Lorenz. She wrote something up for the Washington Post. She's their tech columnist. How the Biden administration let right-wing attacks derail its disinformation efforts. As if those disinformation efforts are somehow holistic and positive. Take a look at the story, please. It says that we on the right all harassed her and were mean. DHS employees and Capitol Hill staffers say Jankowicz was set up to fail by an administration that was unsure of its messaging and unprepared to counteract a coordinated online campaign against her. Now, the story by the Washington Post and by this Taylor Lorenz person did not mention what we just showed you, that she labeled political information that she did not like disinformation, misinformation, when it was actually true. They really are, I think, dangerous. However, I'm not going to say they should be censored, but these are dangerous and very strange people. Here's the writer of that story.
I've had to remove every single social tie. I had severe PTSD from this. I contemplated suicide. It got really bad. You feel like any little piece of information that gets out on you will be used by the worst people on the internet to destroy your life. And it's so isolating.
And terrifying.
It's horrifying. I'm so sorry. It's overwhelming. It's really hard.
So I watch it carefully. I don't want you to think I'm an insensitive person, okay? She's faking it. She's not actually crying. And the behavior she's complaining about, she engages in routinely. Cyberbullying, doxing, putting private information in the newspaper about ordinary people. That's what she does. So her friend Nina Jankowicz will not be working for the federal government, and that is a good thing. One more time.
Pondering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious.
Again, knock yourself out with the goofy videos. That's not the problem. It's her having a position of responsibility. Nobody should have this position. Nobody. You shouldn't give it to the Pope. Nobody should be telling us in the government what is misinformation and what is disinformation. And nobody should be going to jail if they have a political opinion different from mine or different from yours, or if, listen to this.
We got to watch out because the Republicans have become the purveyors of misinformation. And when our two-party system is broken like that, democracy is seriously in trouble. The president acknowledged that. It's time to actually start doing things and maybe taking some names and putting people in jail.
It's not the first time he's talked about this. It's a former Fox News reporter who's now gone woke, talking about sending people to jail for saying things. That's wrong. And by the way, we already have laws against, saying fire in a movie theater. Now, you would think a statement like this would, well, have some pushback from the anchor. No, not so much.
What you, I think, just touched on, maybe inadvertently, is that where the mainstream of America is frankly where President Biden was today.
Yeah. Nobody likes white supremacy. Don't blame it on Republicans and don't threaten to put them in jail. Very strange stuff. Very strange. By the way, big tech is covering for Joe Biden. We have this. How many Twitter followers does Joe Biden have? 22.3 million. Now, this is, how many did Donald Trump have? 60 million, 70 million. He had many multiples of this. Turns out that 49.3% of Biden's Twitter followers are fake, revealed with SparkToro research tool. Newsweek wrote this up. Wow. That's a lot of fake followers. They want to make him look more politically potent than he is, although there were signs of this early on. Whenever he gives a speech and they put it on YouTube, a pitifully small number of comments or likes or viewers. The State of the Union address on YouTube, look at how many people watched that. 41,000. These are pathetically low numbers. Next, this is, well, his speech yesterday in Buffalo. How many people were tuning in a country of 300 million? These are very low numbers.